Okay, so we know now that there are more treated dogs, that is, dogs treated for rabies, than there are licensed dogs, dogs whose owners have bought a license for them from Metroville. So that's a pretty good story. We could write a lead off of just that. But it would be nice if we could go a step further and find out exactly who has and has not bought a license for their dogs. There might be more to this story than is readily apparent just from these aggregate totals. So here's how to do that. I'm going to close this query we just created and go back to the rabies vaccine records. These are the records where we have more dogs have been treated than have been licensed. So what we really kind of need here is we need a variable out here to the right, another column, that tells us, for each of these people, Jaleel Smith, Benjamin Goslin, and so forth, are they on the list of people who have had their dogs licensed or not? Kind of a yes or no sort of variable. So we're going to do that first by creating a variable here to hold that information, and then by using another kind of query called an update query to put a yes or a no here, depending on whether each of these people is on the list of people whose dogs are licensed. So here we go. First of all, to get that variable out here, I'm going to click on the tab up here, the Rabies Vaccine Records tab, and specifically I'm going to right click and call up this little submenu and switch to Design View right there. And when I do that, I can come down to this blank area here below the last variable in the data set and add a variable to hold the information we're talking about. I'm just going to call it license, and I'm going to keep it all caps, just so it's sort of in keeping with the other variable names here that are also all caps. It's going to be a text variable. It's going to contain either a yes or a no. And a little description out here might be kind of helpful as well. So let's say on list of licensed. Oh, or just how about on license list? Like that. Maybe a question mark since it's going to be a yes or no answer. Okay. And let's see, switching back now to data view, I'm going to come up to the tab again, click data sheet view, and it'll ask me if I want to save it. Say yes. So we've just saved that change to the table. And notice now we have the variable I was describing, that license variable out here, where we're going to put a yes or a no out here depending on whether each of these people is on the list of people whose dogs have been licensed. Okay, to get that information here, we've got to run something called an update query. And it starts out just like the query we created a minute ago. You click the Create tab, you come over here and choose Query Design, right there, and add the two tables we're going to be working with. That would be the dog license data table and the rabies vaccine records table. Okay. But this time, instead of looking at these two tables kind of independently as we did when we got totals off of both of them, we want to link them so that we're looking only for records that match, for specifically for people who have a first name, last name, and an address both on this list and also on this list. Okay, and if you look at the code book, you'll find out that on this list, on the dog license data list, the owner's first name is in this owner underbar first column. And over on this list, the rabies vaccine records list, the owner's first name is in the column called FNAME, F-N-A-M-E, first name. So what we want to do is we want to link those two, put them together, so that Access will show us only records that are on both lists. To do that, I highlighted this owner first variable right here, and I've left-clicked on it with my mouse, and I'm holding that left button down. I'm going to drag it over here and put it right on top of the variable in the rabies vaccine records list that it matches up with, the FNAME variable, and let up, and Access draws this little line between the two. All right. Now, sometimes those lines will cross or they get zigzaggy like that. That's fine. The important thing is to make sure that that you match up fields that have matching data in them. So the last name fields are here and here. I'm going to do the same with them. Again, clicking and dragging, and here are the address fields. In these two data sets, they happen to be in the same sequence. They don't have to be. They can be in any order. The important thing is to get them matched up with these lines here. Okay, and so now I want to put down here in the work area the variables that I'm going to be working with in this update query. So what I want Access to do is look at the owner. Well, let's do them in order. The first name, last name, and address information for everybody who has a dog license, and look for matching first name, last name, and address information in the rabies vaccine records. Notice that as I've been clicking on these, I'm double clicking on them. The variables have been added to the list down here. Okay, and then also want to add in this the variable we just created, the license variable. There we are. Okay. So if I ran this query now, and I'm not going to, but if I were to run this query right now, it would show me only those people who have an entry both on the dog license data list and also on the rabies vaccine records list. People who were there because we know they're on both because they match on their first name, last name, and address. And it would also show me their license status, which right now would be blank because there's nothing in that variable at all. But why not go ahead and since Access is going to find people who are on both lists anyway, go ahead and have them put a yes in that license variable that we just created, which is currently blank. To do that, we need a particular type of query called an update query. You tell Access that's what you want by coming over here in the query type area and looking for the icon for an update query. It looks like a black exclamation point with a little pencil icon next to it. You click on that, and when I do, watch what will happen. I'll get this information down here will change these rows. There we go. And what I did was I picked up this update to field right here. And all I want to do here is say, well, if everybody who gets found by this query, because they have information on both lists, I want to update that license field to say yes, for yes, this this person in the rabies vaccine records database also has a record over in the dog license database. So I think we're ready to go. Let's click run. Okay. The first thing Access does is it tells me I found some records that match the criteria for your query. I'm about to change them. Are you sure you want to do that? And we're working here with a variable we created, so we're not overwriting any important data. So it's okay to go ahead and do that, even if it doesn't work out the way you think. You can just delete the variable and start over. But in this case, click yes. All right. Doesn't look like much happened, but if you switch over to the rabies vaccine records table, just click on the tab here. Okay. Now we've got this license variable here. And interestingly, we now know that Jaleel Smith is a good citizen. He's paid his dog license fee. He's paid a license fee for the dog that he's also had rabies shots for. Benjamin Goslin, though, hasn't. He hasn't. His name, at least, is not on the list of people who have paid a dog license fee. And the same is true for several other folks on the list. Including some folks, and this is a preview of things to come. Here's Abby Gibson, who has 4 dogs treated for rabies and apparently hasn't paid licenses for any of them. And we'll see some more folks like that as we go on. But for now, that's how to do the first part of this, which is to get a yes here for people who are on both lists. In the next video, I'll show you how to put a no here for people who are not on both lists. But for now, let's go back to the query that we just created. Let's hit the X button to close it, and we'll get asked if we want to save it. Of course, the answer is yes. And let's save this in keeping with our naming strategy here. Let's call it step 2, and then do something descriptive here. Let's say the variable we're working with, license, equals yes if the person has a license in the license data, or a record in the license database is what I'm going for. So yes if license record, like that. Okay, the listing. There we go. Okay, that's just a little clue as to what this update query does. So I'm going to click OK. that saves it. We have it now over here, and I'll show you in the next video how to change these blanks to no's.